All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. And good to see you all. Thanks for tuning in. We're live on YouTube, Rockfin, Callin, and on Twitter. All the usual places. I feel like I'm breathing a lot into the phone. I mean, into the phone, into the microphone. That's what I meant. Microphone. Sorry, it's a little early, and I don't really need more coffee, but I need some fake adrenaline to keep my brain functioning. Can anyone relate? Can you relate? All right. Well, great. Well, let's get into it. If y'all want to be late, maybe I'm not getting. I feel like I'm getting a lot of resistance right now, as far as the social media platforms and the sites and stuff. I'm not really sure what's going on, but I feel a lot of resistance, and I'm not quite sure what's happening, but whatever. We're just going to keep on doing stuff. That's what we're going to do. Keep on talking about things, keep on doing things, and that's all one can do. So I'm going to get into it because I don't, have limited time and all that kind of good stuff. So let's found this interesting article on Twitter from Justin McAfee. What's your doomer drug of choice? If you engage in doom scrolling, hard not to do, then you may have encountered several types of personalities and assessments of the future. I have boxed them into 4 fun categories, reducing their views to pithy puns, all based on the word opium. Opium, of course, is a dandy drug used as the basis for heroin and pharmaceutical painkillers that everyone from Karl Marx to the modern doomer has employed to ridicule. For Marx, it was religion, the opiate of the masses. For the doomer, it is hope itself. But we are all on something that either clouds our judgment, numbs us, makes us feel better, or passes the time. Why else would we bother to talk about any of this stuff? So I've identified the types of doomers I've seen on the internet. I think some of us are a combination of more than one. Rather than name names, I've just kept to the category. Professor Jem Bendel had a fun rundown of folks in the doomerati that you might enjoy, including a shout out to our lovely little forum. Without further ado, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, categorized by their drug of choice. Hopium. Hope is often the target of doomers, particularly when it is combined with denialism. It's not so much any kind of hope, but the hope of false solutions. This includes hope in technology, free market capitalism, modern liberal democracy, so-called, politicians or political parties, and anything else we could identify as basically the underlying causes of our demise. Phopium, technological utopianism, is another form of this. If you're watching on Twitter, please make sure you like up the video, retweet it, and all that kind of good stuff. And also, there, look for the friendly little chat box on the side, and you can chat away on Twitter if you dare. Nopium. Sometimes even doomers get accused of hopium. Some doomers recognize that certain things are doomed, like modern society itself. Probably a large portion of the human population, plant and animals too. Still, they maintain hope in survival, a new form of human society. Well, we'll get those folks in a minute. We'll get to those folks in a minute. The point is that some doomers don't care for any hope whatsoever. Don't give them any of that nonsense. They are here to say nope. Cropium. So he has divided these into three categories. Cropium, the crow personality among doomers, gets a high identifying the omens of destruction and being the harbinger of death. Crows and their close relatives, ravens, have been associated with death, war, and omens in many cultures throughout history due to their black plumage, their diet, which includes carrion, and their presence on battlefields where they would often be seen scavenging the dead. Mopium. This doomer is marked by despair. They don't see any hope in trying to do much about anything either. They mope around the internet, perhaps getting some sort of high, complaining about the state of things. I think I might have seen a few of those. Glopium. I came up with this one to describe the doomer who seems to glow when gloating about the demise of humans. I might be one of these. These misanthropes won't shed a tear seeing the trash apes go up in flames. We are, after all, responsible for destroying life on this planet. These doomers would just as well see these MF humans get nuked until they glow. Maybe this should be called misanthropium. Okay, here's another one. Propium. Rather than just sit by and watch, these doomers have a good cause to pass their time. Their high comes from proactivity. They are proponents of change, though have varying degrees of hope in what their projects may accomplish. Some in this category get accused of hopium, though these are clearly distinguishable from the first category described above. The subsects are just opium. These doomers know that shit hits the fan as a reality. They may even believe that there ain't anything we can do to stop it from causing the outright demise of humanity, possibly even all life on Earth. Instead, the goal is justice in that demise. They are advocates for reducing suffering and having the collapse be more just for all who experience. Phopium. There are people who are primarily responsible for the doom. And while the doom itself is essentially inevitable, the level of doom is not determined. The sooner we take out our foes, the ruling class causing the destruction, and industrial civilization itself, the better that final outcome will be. These revolutionary doomers recognize we are in a double bind, that there are no good outcomes, that there are better ones if we act now. But there are better ones if we act now. Resistance is their central high. Truth be told, studies have found that, for example, where suicide rates among First Nation peoples are high, it is much lower among those who fight for the old growth forests. It is a joyful militancy. Slopium. Some doomers aren't totally sure how long and to what extent the doom will take place. Some are even confident it will take a long time. Therefore, they advocate for radical change like degrowth and deep adaptation in hopes that we can make it through the tough times and emerge on the other side a resilient and sustainable species as the planet recovers. Gropium. There's a lot of these folks out there. Some are hippie types who focus their time and hope on growing food. It's all about the food systems, man. Some, though not all, are vegans. Permaculture eco-villages might be the last bastion of hope, or maybe homesteading. I'll circle this one in red as maybe being one of those folks. Let's keep going. Popium. population doomers. They know it's all about the scale of human population. If we can just get that under control, things might get better. Some, not all, even believe we can maintain our present level of consumption, technology, and lifestyle generally if we only had a few 100 million humans on the planet. Is that what the WEF and Klaus Schwab and those folks, is that what they're going for? We can maintain it all. We just need a lot less people. Ecopium. These doomers are focused on helping ecosystems, life support systems, and wildlife through the extinction bottleneck of human civilizational collapse. They may even prefer that humans not make it. Copium. I've seen groups of people online who focus almost entirely on how we cope with collapse. They don't necessarily advocate for much other than being supportive of one another and dealing with the emotional parts of our demise. That's one reason I thought it deserved its own central category. And why not? Listen, you're going to cope or not, right? Coping is the thing about life that we do, whether we want to do it or not. You either cope or you don't. You adapt or you die, right? So copium, we're all copium in the copium camp. Whether you think you are or not, you're coping. Anyways, stoipium. Not sure this is a distinction, but this is the well-adjusted stoic doomer who has accepted doom with grace and focuses not on the things they can't control, but on themselves. Okay, dude, enough with the opium puns. Go write something useful. That's the propium speaking. Again, if I had to assess myself, I'm a combination of these things depending on the day. Maybe this entire article is just projection. But clearly the collapsed curriculum was born out of a belief in various forms of propium. Propium retains the realism absent with hopium, but doesn't accept total defeat. For me, its best selling point is that if propium doomers are wrong, it doesn't matter anyway. But if we are right, boy, wouldn't it be awful if we let any chance of success in any of these areas pass by because of our inaction. Which I actually believe that. Well, I suppose there's no use trying that argument with glopium doomers. By the way, to each their own. This was just for fun. Don't get mad. The whole thing was pretty reductive. Stick around if you want to consider how you can be a part of something, making an effort to save what can be saved and transform what can be transformed. Stay prepared. Stay resilient. Okay. Pretty good stuff from Justin. And I said, okay, and the chats are going, everybody has their contribution to this article as well. It's good. Okay. All right. Where are we at? Just trying to figure out what I'm doing next. Well, I know what I'm doing next. All right. Got a couple of people watching on Twitter. Thanks for watching on Twitter. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate y'all. I have a question. For people that follow me on any platform, but Twitter maybe and YouTube especially, do y'all find yourself getting like kicked off of my page or unfollowed unbeknownst to you? Just let me know if that ever happens to you. I mean, I know that it happens it's been happening on YouTube forever, but I guess if it happens on Twitter, I'm interested in that. There's awful odd things sometimes happening on Twitter, but we just roll with it, right? if you if you're trying to avoid the dumpster fire of collapse, you might be a stop, drop, and roll dick ropiumist. How about that one? That was my contribution. Nick Oliver on Twitter says, I've never been unsubscribed from your page. Okay. All right, cool. Just wondering. Just curious. I don't know. Got a few folks watching on Rockfin. What's up, Rockfin people? How you doing? How are you doing? And thanks for being here. Okay, so we'll just keep moving on because I feel like I'm already going way too slow. Did you all see this? This is interesting. Oh, Franco sent you here? Nice. And I can't even read your handle. Sushi Me Woo Simp Club for Lost Boys. Nice. Okay. Yeah, right on. Well, thanks for tuning in. The world population is set to fall. Where is it? Why won't it show? Come on now. What happened? What happened? Y'all, well, so StreamYard just kicked this off. World population to fall for the first time since the Black Death. Y'all, did you see this one? Is this real? I have another article I think that is pretty much talking about the same thing. March 21st, 2024, from Michael Searles in The Telegraph. Global fertility rates hit an historic tipping point and are unlikely to recover, experts say. Oh, I guess we'll read the other article because they won't let me read this one. Frickin' Telegraph. Hold on. Let's see if we find the... I think we have another one here that's free to read. From Paul Beckwith. Okay. I hate this. Oh, he's sharing the same link but through a different app. Okay. Well, hold on. Hold on 1 second. This is ridiculous. Let's find... How about The Lancet? How about CNN? I know they'll let me read it on CNN. For Christ's sake. A new study projects that global fertility rates, which have been declining in all countries since 1950, will continue to plummet through the end of the century, resulting in a profound demographic shift. The fertility rate is the average number of children born to a woman in her lifetime. Globally, that number has gone from 4.84 in 1950 to 2.23 in 2021. Still that high. It still sounds awful high. And will continue to drop to 1.59 by 2100. Something tells me that is a gross underestimation. Let's keep going. According to a new analysis, which was based on the Global Burden of Diseases, Injuries, and Risk Factors Study 2021, a research effort led by the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington, the study was published Wednesday in the journal The Lancet. What we are experiencing now and have been experiencing for decades is something that we have not seen before in human history, which is a large-scale, cross-national, cross-cultural shift towards preferring and having smaller families. Do you think so? Is that why? That's interesting. Anyway, well, we'll read on. How sex, death, and migration shape our world. Who was not involved with the new research? Jennifer, this is Dr. Jennifer D. Skiuba speaking, a demographer and author of 8 Billion and Counting, How Sex, Death, and Migration Shape Our World, who was not involved with the new research. Dr. Christopher Murray, senior author of the study and director of IHME, said there are many reasons for this shift, including increased opportunities for women in education and employment, and better access to contraception and reproductive health services. Excuse me. Dr. Gitau Mburu, a scientist in the World Health Organization's Department of Sexual and Reproductive Health and Research, who wrote a comment that was published alongside the study, said in an email to CNN that economic factors such as the direct cost of raising children, the perceived risk of death to children, and changing values on gender equality and self-fulfillment are all forces that may contribute to declining fertility rates. I'm not even going to go long on this one, but this is actually another discussion I want to have on my other channel, because I'm not even going to go deep on this one, but I can assure you that lots of other people might have other ideas about why this is happening. But this is we'll call this the glossy Lancet / CNN version of why this is happening. We'll just leave it there. The relative contribution of these factors varies over time and by country. To maintain stable population numbers, countries need a total fertility rate of 2.1 children per woman, a number called the replacement level. When the fertility rate falls below the replacement level, populations begin to shrink. The new analysis estimates that 46% of countries had a fertility rate below replacement level in 2021. Okay. That number will increase to 97% by 2100, meaning the population of almost all countries in the world will be declining by the end of the century. I will also go on to say, they're making it seem like, well, people are just deciding to not have babies. Do you think that there might be environmental pressures on fertility rates? Do you think there might be health pressures on fertility rates? Do you think there might be a chemical stew mixed with, GMOs and glyphosate and all, endocrine disruptor, right? Endocrine disruptors have been linked to lower fertility rates, but they're not talking about that. So I know I'm not looking at the Lancet article itself, but I'm immediately I have a lot of doubt about why what they are claiming is why the fertility rates are. I have a lot of questions and a lot of skepticism about what it is that they're calling, they're making it seem like, well, just people are just changing. They're just deciding to have less children. No, I don't think so. I mean, it might be part of it. I'm sure many things can be possible at the same time, and all factors could be contributing, right? It couldn't just be one thing or this other thing. All factors could be contributing, but they're leaving out a whole spectrum of reasons. It's nice that they included the cost of actually bringing a child in the world and raising a child in there, because that's totally important. But yeah, right? I mean, people are just not in good health. People are not in good shape. The environment is not in good shape. There's lots of reasons why fertility rates are falling. And let's read on. Maybe they're going to get to this. Maybe they'll get to this. A previous analysis by IHME published in The Lancet in 2020 predicted that the world population will peak in 2064 at around 9.7 billion. Whew, well, we're going to get a lot more people on this planet. 9.7 billion? And again, I'm going to say this. No, that's an absolute no for me, dog. There is absolutely no way we get to 10 billion people. No way. It's right now we are at the, we're on a ship overladen with stuff. And it's creaking. The sides are creaking, and like the whole ship is just creaking with overburden of all kinds of things, right? Economically overburdened, population overburdened, right? Environmentally overburdened. There's no more. There is no more for the ship to hold, right? There's not one more space for this. There's no more room for the ship to hold more stuff. No way. Absolutely not. We don't go, I don't think we go over 9 billion. That's just my personal thing, and I might be wrong. And if I am wrong, well then, go ahead and feel free to come back and laugh at me. Yeah, I don't see it. No way. No way. But they're saying we're going to get to almost 10 billion. Ain't going to happen. Nope. I think but if we make it to 9 billion, I'll be surprised. Anyways, also, yes, radiation, the effects of the release of, radioactive, waters and isotopes all over the planet, there's just so many things that are going to destroy the ability for people to have kids, other than like, well, I went to college and got a degree, and that's why I got a degree and I have a good job, and that's why I'm holding off on having another child. No, I don't think that's it. Anyways, we'll keep going. Another projection by the UN World Population Prospects 2022 predicted world population to peak at 10.4 billion in the 2080s. Hold on there, people. Hold on. My God, I don't know why I don't have this already lined up here. Well, I'm going to have to read this sentence again. They predicted the population. There we go. Now, I'm going to read it again, and we're going to get the laugh in the right place. UN World Population Prospects 2022 predicted world population to peak at 10.4 billion in the 2080s. No. Damn you. There we go. All right, I got to get the timing right on that. No, that's just ridiculous. In the 2080s. Okay, we could spend a lot of time on that one sentence. So we're going to keep on growing. The world population is going to keep on growing, and everything is going to remain stable enough into the 2080s for us to get to 10.4 billion. Yeah. Into the 2080s. All right. Regardless of the exact timing of peak world population, it will likely begin declining in the second half of the century, Skiuba said, with dramatic geopolitical, economic, and societal consequences. Although fertility rates are declining in all countries, the rate of decline is uneven, creating a shift in the distribution of live births around the globe, according to the analysis. The study predicts the share of the world's live births in low-income regions will nearly double from 18% in 2021 to 35% in 2100. Really? Why? Based on what? I, I don't I don't know how is that. How do you even come to that? The shift in the distribution of live births will create a demographically divided world where high-income countries face the consequences of an aging population and declining workforce, while low-income regions maintain a high birth rate that strains existing resources, according to the analysis. Again, the people that did this study, the very credentialed, I'm sure they working in very, well-respected organizations, right, where they do these kinds of studies, but completely missing like the overall reality of what's going on. Like, this is the problem of super specialization and getting up every day and just looking at these like models that don't actually take into account the actual trajectory that we're on, right? Human population is going to continue growing into the last half of the century, and then they're saying that in 2100 that, I mean, maybe, but they're leaving so many factors out, so many things out of this, out of their modeling or out of the equation, that it's bizarre to me. And these people are collecting paychecks for doing this kind of stuff. I guess it's nice work if you can get it. I don't understand how you actually do this with a straight face, like say this kind of stuff. Or with a serious demeanor, like you actually say this kind of stuff out loud or write these kinds of articles or put these studies out, like based on what? I mean, you're really leaving out a lot of information. Anyways, whatever. The shift in the distribution, low fertility in high-income countries, that's already happening. On one end of the spectrum, high-income countries with plummeting fertility rates will experience a shift toward an aging population that will strain national health insurance, social security programs, and healthcare infrastructure. They will also have to contend with labor shortages, according to the study. This researchers suggest that ethical and effective policies that encourage immigration and labor innovations like advancements in artificial intelligence could help reduce some of the economic effects of the demographic shift. Yeah. Ooh, there's a lot to unpack here. More births in low-income countries. Alternative scenarios for the future. Let's read this part. The main strain comes from our inability to adjust, Skiuba says. How do we adjust to what we have? I think that is where we really lack innovation and political will. Skiuba says she thinks about 3 alternative approaches that society can take to adapt to a shrinking, aging global population. One scenario is the status quo world where we go about our business as usual, maintain economic policies that rely on continued population growth, and perhaps implement a few pronatal policies that don't make much of a difference, she said. This will not solve any of the economic and societal problems that the study outlines. But did you guys even include climate change? That's my question. Like, you see this happen, this is based on a world in which there is no such thing as climate change. There's no such thing as environmental degradation. There's no such thing as the slow poisoning of everybody on the planet by pesticides and GMO foods and endocrine disruptors and microplastics, and you're not putting all of that into the equation. I don't get it. And then on top of all that, the fact that the economy, economic instability is looming on the horizon. There is a trillion, like mega trillion national debt that's about to crash on everyone, in the U.S., it's going to crash on everyone worldwide. There's a mega trillion derivatives bubble out there waiting to burst. There's a mega trillion real estate bubble out there ready to burst. And and that when the economy crashes in such a violent way, that actually takes a lot of people out too. How do we even recover from something like that? Anyways. Okay, well, interesting, if not really very helpful. Any of that information. I mean, it's okay. It was something. It was something to read. We obviously did the watch along, the peak oil watch along. Here's a tweet from Art Berman via Doctor. Says peak oil is the elephant in the room. EIA lowered its world oil production forecast. We now forecast significantly less global oil production than world oil consumption through the first half of 2024, requiring draws on world petroleum stocks. That's a yeah. World oil production is going to dip below here we are 2024 below world oil consumption. And I think it happened in 2021, but I think this was we were still doing a COVID thing then. So that is going to push up, pressure on energy supplies is going to push up the price on energy, which is going to push up the price of everything else. Everybody is already drowning in inflation and wondering what the heck is going on, what the heck they're going to do, and that's just going to make it worse. Speaking of which, Max Wilbert putting out this graph. We are seeing Joseph Tainter's collapse of complex societies thesis playing out in real time. A complex society trying to solve problems by adding more complexity with diminishing returns. And this graph outlines 300 years of technological development and metal consumption. And in the year 2000, right, look at the list of metals it takes to keep our society going. And there's a finite supply, right? Anyways. Oh, can you see that? You couldn't see it. Sorry, guys. Let me just show it to you because you all were looking and I was not showing. All right, I'm going to check in on if any tips have come my way. If you want to send a comment, tip and a comment and a tip, I'll surely relay your comment to the audience. You can do it on PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Rockfin, Super Chat, Super Ray. Buy me a coffee, all that kind of good stuff, right? Right. Let's keep going. Got something from Steve Austin. I'm sure this is a graph that reverts to the mean over time. No way it keeps going up, right? This is billion-dollar disaster events from 1980 to 2023. And they definitely seem to be on the rise. And in 2023, a whole lot of severe storm counts. That seems to be the biggest portion of the rise. All the others seem to be, mostly staying the same. But it's the green, it's the severe storm count. So that's the one that seems to be affecting it most. Winter storm count seems to be pretty high. Yeah, drought through the years seems to be fairly steady. Flooding. Oh, you know what I forgot to actually bring in? I forgot to bring in. There was this. I guess I talked about it the other day. Massive hailstorms in Texas, in Arkansas, that just took out all kinds of stuff: cars, houses. It was just an insane hailstorm. So that's you want to watch out for that kind of stuff, right? Let's look at this article about Boeing. Boeing obviously has big issues, and I've been covering it on the other channel a bunch. But they were marketing the 737 MAX as being eco-friendly. But marketing is not always what it seems. This is from Heated. If you've ever used Google Flights to buy plane tickets, you might have noticed a green symbol telling you which flights have less greenhouse gas emissions. These flights are the result of a Google algorithm that predicts per passenger carbon emissions, and there are two planes that pop up over and over again in the results. One is the European Airbus A320neo, and the other is the Boeing 737 MAX 9. The 737 MAX 9 is now infamous for an incident in January when the door blew off an Alaska Airlines flight, exposing passengers to the outside air at 16,000 feet. The culprit was several bolts that hadn't been attached, according to the preliminary findings of several ongoing investigations. This isn't the first time Boeing has made headlines with the 737 MAX, a line of aircraft it originally promoted as a cleaner, quieter, and more efficient airplane. In 2018, a Boeing 737 MAX 8 crashed in Indonesia. Less than 6 months later, another 737 MAX 8 crashed in Ethiopia. A combined 346 people died as a result, leading the Federal Aviation Administration and 40 other countries to ban the 737 MAX from flying for nearly 2 years. By 2020, the 737 MAX was back in the skies, where it remains, even following this year's accident. The 737 MAX is a household name today because of these failures. But originally, Boeing wanted the plane to be seen as an eco-friendly option for consumers who increasingly desire sustainable products. Didn't we just talk about this yesterday? Yes, consumers desire sustainable products, but when you put those products in front of them, they always default to the product that they see as not sustainable as being more effective. And Boeing is just adding to the list of products that people would probably choose something else over, right? Hey, this is the sustainable product. No, I don't want that one. That one doesn't work, right? That's basically what these studies found. So Boeing is not helping the cause of the eco-friendly, marketing, right? So does this mean that so-called lower emission planes are inherently unsafe? Some conservative commentators would like us to think so. Shortly after the 737 MAX 8 crashed the second time, they're just not helping themselves in any way, shape, right? This is why we can't have good, nice things, right? This is why, we can't go green, because when people go green, they go, it's fake. It's a fake green. It's astroturfing. It's greenwashing. It's not really all that green. It's probably worse for you than the other thing that you thought is not green. So that I just, this is more just piling disaster on disaster. Some conservative commentators would like us to think so. Shortly after the 737 MAX 8 crashed a second time, the New York Post ran an opinion piece that claimed Boeing's sustainability goals were to blame. The warning from Boeing's catastrophes is that climate ideology can have fatal consequences, Miranda Devine wrote in an article headlined "Eco Madness May Be Reason for Disastrous Boeing 737 MAX Safety Issues." This, however, is a completely boneheaded take on the MAX, said Dan Rutherford, an aviation and sustainability expert with the International Council on Clean Transportation. That's hold on. I'm gonna read all that. Hold on, wait. What's his title? Sustainability expert with the International Council on Clean Transportation. Yeah, that's a good one. This is clearly a case where Boeing did not go far enough on the environment, he said. Boeing had the capability to create a truly game-changing and safe, fuel-efficient aircraft, but instead the company chose to cut corners on sustainability design and safety. Hold on, guys. There's another aspect to this story. There's another aspect to the story that I'm going to bring in. And that is also part of the reason why these planes have so many issues is that they've moved the construction of the planes to South Carolina from Seattle, where they didn't want to pay the people who built the planes what they were worth. They were union busting. They moved the construction of the planes to South Carolina, where they could do it more cheaply. But yes, without the quality controls, right? The famous case of John Barnett, who was a quality control manager who was fired when he said, "Hey, you guys, there's a problem with the quality. I'm the manager of the quality, and I'm telling you the quality is not good enough." And they're like, "Get out of here." And he ends up dying of suicide. So another aspect of this, turns out the Boeing planes are built like crap now because of union busting. Boeing's previous management had made repeated missteps, including outsourcing parts. I'll show you what I'm reading. Outsourcing parts of its manufacturing and moving parts of its 787 production to South Carolina to cut costs, following battles with unions at its primary base north of Seattle, Washington. Wow. So what happens when you gut regulations and when you bust those unions and they're like, big government is bad, we can't have these unions. And Biden is one of the biggest union busters ever, right? So don't get it twisted. Don't get your fascist panties twisted in a bunch when you're talking about fascism. Yeah, he is fascist because he's busting unions, among other things. He's a union buster. And he's overseeing this as much as anybody else. It doesn't care. South Carolina cut costs following battles with unions at the primary base north of Seattle. Boeing eventually moved all of its 787 production to South Carolina in 2021, but the site has struggled with manufacturing challenges. Clark said Boeing had lost skills and competencies through the move. Just, but I heard somebody really have a really good take on the idea that they have really done a good job of dividing people and what right like all the people on the right think that the left are just a bunch of commies and they just want the government to control everything and they're communists, right? But like, okay, actually those regulations and the helping the workers get their rights and the pay and that's actually good for people. Having agencies that actually oversee and regulate things properly is actually good for people and the economy and whatever else. But I digress. Oh, and then they've got the left thinking that everything on the right is like hyper fascist, even though they can't even see the fascism of the left. Right? The Democrats are doing the same. Oh, whatever. I'm gonna get off on a tangent here. Democrats are doing the same thing, but they think it's just language, right? It's just language. Well, they're all those guys are just there's no evidence or data or whatever behind the language to back up what it is that they think they know that they're talking about. Anyways, I digress. Let's go back to this article a little bit because I'm about to sign off in a few minutes. But the truth is that everything's being gutted, right? All the regulations and all of the quality of life issues that people have concerns with, right? Everything's being gutted because it's all a corporate, the corporations have taken over everything, right? It's all a fascist takeover. It doesn't matter whether you're left or right. Please try and remain calm while the plane is descending at a high rate of speed. Okay. Shortly after the announcement, however, Boeing CEO was proven wrong. Oh, hold on. I'm going to go back. The 737 MAX was not the plane Boeing originally intended to make. In 2011, the company announced it was planning to develop an entirely new plane to replace its aging and fuel-guzzling 737 fleet. This new, more fuel-efficient plane would cost billions of dollars and take nearly a decade to make. But Boeing's then CEO said it would be worth it. It's our judgment that our customers will wait for us. Shortly after the announcement, however, Boeing's CEO was proven wrong. The company's exclusive customer, American Airlines, announced it was defecting to Boeing's rival plane manufacturer, Airbus, and Airbus was not making new planes. It was putting new, more fuel-efficient engines on old planes. So in order to compete, Boeing quickly scrapped its plan. Instead, it too decided to put new engines on old planes. The 737 MAX was born. From a sustainability perspective, Boeing's change in direction was disappointing, said Rutherford. While the more fuel-efficient aircraft engines were better for the planet than the older ones, a new plane, he said, would have delivered far more benefits. If you look at the technologies that can be used to improve the fuel efficiency and reduce emissions for aircraft, it's basically three big buckets, he said. Manufacturers could have made the airframe lighter by using lightweight materials, improved the aerodynamics of the plane to reduce drag, and added more advanced engines. That clean sheet design, as it's known by the industry, would have used less fuel and produced less emissions. A new plane would also have been safer, both in design and because pilots would have been required to train on the new aircraft. But a new design would have cost Boeing and the airlines far more money. So while that strategy may have been good for short-term profit, ultimately Boeing's strategy was bad for the environment and for customers. Y'all, this is very educational. Y'all feeling educated? Still, Boeing was bullish on marketing the 737 MAX as an eco-friendly plane. Voila, new engines. Eco-friendly. Customers tell us they want to improve profitability and fuel efficiency while reducing their environmental footprint. Boeing's then CEO Jim Albaugh said in a press release, is it any wonder why corporations are trying to hide their sustainability commitments now, right? They were big on like pushing that out, and now they're like, nah, oh no, we were just kidding. Anyways, Jim Albaugh said in a press release announcing the engineering of the 737, the solution meets all three of those needs. Once accidents and tragedies began to plague the 737 MAX, in large part because the new engines compromised the aerodynamics of the plane, the company's sustainability marketing soared further. Oh my God. In a coordinated media push over a few short years, Boeing rolled out a new ESG department. Is it any wonder why people are rebelling against ESG sustainability goals? Is it any wonder why people are now not just skeptical, but like rejecting all of this stuff outright? Is it any wonder? Because you guys did a bait and switch. Don't blame the people for thinking these thoughts. Blame the people that did horrific, stupid things that ended up causing people to have these thoughts, right? I'm not, the people that run around bashing deniers don't even understand that they're the way that they think is being caused by the actions of the people who are trying to tout, this fake sustainability. In this case, dangerous, death-inducing sustainability, right? Like, is it any wonder that people don't trust the people in charge at all, whatsoever, with doing anything right about anything? Like, why blame, you're going to blame the people for thinking their own thoughts about this. Don't do that. Maybe look to the people that are in charge that are misleading you on this. Anyways, whatever. I digress. Boeing rolled out a new ESG department, hired a chief officer of sustainability, and published sustainability reports, right? Mike Sinnett, head of Boeing product development, told reporters at an event in 2021 that reducing greenhouse gas emissions had become a requirement of entry for the aviation market. That same year, Boeing held a conference in its flight test hangar in Seattle to showcase its environmentally friendly products. The conference served as a debut for Boeing's latest re-engined old airplane, the Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9. What Boeing didn't say, but was apparent to anyone in the industry, was that the company was still trying to compete with the more successful rival Airbus. Airbus had just unveiled its own, even more fuel-efficient engines 1 week prior, advertising them as part of the company's commitment to sustainability and decarbonization. Boeing looked for opportunities to distinguish itself and recoup some of its losses. One of those tactics involved Boeing advertising an experimental, even more fuel-efficient version of the 737 MAX 9 dubbed the Eco Demonstrator to Glasgow, right before the United Nations met for its annual climate conference. Wow. By 2023, the company was using even stronger language to describe its sustainability efforts. Boeing's effort to advance environmental stewardship are underpinned by transparency at every level as we strive to make aerospace more sustainable. It said in its annual report, but Boeing's new passion for environment wasn't solely motivated by concern for the planet. Boeing's chief sustainability officer, Chris Raymond, described the company's ESG strategy as a reaction to the disastrous 737 MAX. We have to re-earn some trust, and I think this topic was just one that was so important to our stakeholders, he told Aero Society last year. I just looked at what's happened with the oil, gas, and automotive industries, and we certainly don't want aerospace to fall into that perception. Too late, sucker. And of course, Boeing would never have undertaken a sustainability measure if it didn't believe it could make a profit. We have never implemented any sustainability project that did not have a positive return on investment. Terry Mutter, Boeing's former director of enterprise strategy, told Blue and Green Tomorrow, not only is it the right thing to do, but it's the right thing to do for business. Mutter's remarks are a common refrain across industries that competition will drive companies to do what's best for the consumer and therefore what's best for the planet. But the 737 MAX is an example of where competition actually led to worse long-term results because the pressure to prioritize speed over innovation resulted in a flawed product that claimed nearly 350 lives and endangered hundreds more. The problem wasn't that Boeing wanted to make a more sustainable plane. It was that Boeing used sustainability as merely a tool on its quest for profit, and the company, consumers, and the climate paid as a result. Oh, okay. All right, I'm good and depressed going into the rest of my Friday. I hope you guys are going to enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Anyways, just checking in on some comments, and if there are any to read. All right. Let's see. Have a lot of people watch on Twitter. That's cool. Twitter folks, thanks for hanging out. Y'all are super cool. That's interesting, man. Twitter's done some mildly interesting things with my numbers in the last week, but I'm just here for the ride. So, and aren't we all? All right, guys. Thanks so much. I appreciate y'all. Gonna probably do an Octopus Files stream at noon, so tune in for that for those that are interested. And I will see you all on the flip. And until next time, peace.